I'm going to run through some of the improvements that we've made in the ALM Accelerator over the past couple of months, specifically focused on the new Maker experience versus Advanced Maker experience. These experiences are configurable in the backend by an administrator and can be assigned to a specific user or group of users using AAD group teams. I'm here in the ALM Accelerator. I'm currently logged in as Johanna, and Johanna is an administrator in this environment, so Johanna can see all of the experiences that are configured. Uh, and this drop down is what determines the experience that Johanna sees. So right now she's in the advanced maker experience that we've configured. If I toggle over to the maker experience, you'll see that there's a couple of things that happen just on the front page. So the import solution, delete solution doesn't show up for the maker experience. Also, the buttons names sort of change to cater to somebody who's perhaps not familiar with Git terms like commit and need to use different terminology. So that's some of the basics. And again, this is all configurable. You can have as many of these experiences as you want. We just have two in this particular environment. Now, if I jump over real quick to another user, and in this case, I'm logged in as Nat, you'll see that Nat has been assigned the maker experience. So the import button is not there, the delete is not there, and there's no drop down up here to choose the experience. So Nat has been assigned the maker experience and has no ability to toggle like the administrator does. Jumping back to Johanna, well, one of the things that we've added recently is the idea of profiles associated with solutions, and these profiles are what determines where your solution will be source controlled, what repository, project organization in Azure DevOps, as well as a target branch. And this target branch is essentially what gives the app the ability to create branches for a maker, also create pull requests when the maker deploys. So this would generally be set up by an administrator, and a maker would really have no sight into these sort of things, and they would be assigned these profiles as well. So they wouldn't need to even worry about what these values are or what the deployment environments are. Now, since I am an administrator logged in here as Johanna, I have the ability to create my own profiles as well. So if I wanted to come in here and assign a new profile in the advanced maker experience to this unmanaged solution, and again, these are all the unmanaged solutions that are in my maker environment, and I can select my maker environment from here, and it'll refresh with the solutions that are in that environment. So if I hit choose a profile now, I can create a new profile. I can call this ALM Accelerator. I can point it at my DevOps organization and project, pick the repository, and then pick the target branch for this. So scrolling to main, click create, and it will automatically create default environments for this deployment. So we'll just say that this is our validation environment, this is our test environment, and then our prod environment. And if I click save on that, what you'll see happen is now that I have a profile set up for this, all of these buttons light up. Prior to setting a profile, I can't do anything with these unmanaged solutions. So that's essentially setting up a profile. This profile has already been assigned to this solution. I have access to this profile, and so I can start doing my development. And to do development, I can quickly jump into the solution itself and begin my work, adding new apps, flows, etc. And the nice thing about that experience is that it puts the user in a good place to do a healthy ALM so that they're adding assets in the solution and not outside of the solution. I also have the ability here, if I wanted to create a new solution, I can just go to the Solution Explorer, create a new solution, and again, be doing all of my development work inside of a solution. But let's say I've added a change here to the sample solution. If I click commit, I get the advanced dialog for the commit. Now, this looks a little bit different If I do the maker experience, jumping back to the maker experience, if I click Save Solution, you'll see that all the branches and things like that are kind of hidden here, and all I really have to do is enter a note. So this is good. First step in saving the solution or committing the solution is to prepare it. And the prepare takes me to the configure deployment settings. And the configure deployment settings is essentially going out, looking at my solution, looking for connection references, looking for environment variables, looking for flows and apps that need to be shared downstream in my target environments. And you'll see I've got my 3 environments here, validation, test, and prod. I've got some pre-configured connections in my target environment that are already wired up for me. In addition to that, I have the ability to create new connections. So if I click the plus here, that will drop me into my validation environment and ask me to create a connection. I can easily do that. Once that's created, if I come back here, you'll see I had 1 connection. If I hit the refresh, it'll go out and it'll find all the connections in that target environment for me. And now I have 2 connections, so I can pick from these. If we go to environment variables, you'll see we've got our standard string, number, JSON environment variables here that we can set for each of the environments. We've also got SharePoint data source environment variables here. So if I point to one of these SharePoint sites, it'll go out and it'll find the lists associated with that, and I can set the data source environment variable for that. Additionally, under app sharing, we have a list of all of the apps in this solution. We only have 1 in this case. I can share these with AAD groups. I can say I want to share this with the advanced makers, and I want to give them permission to view and share or edit or just view in that downstream environment. If I drill into this, that'll take me into Azure portal. I can see the specific groups associated or the specific members associated with that group that I selected. The last thing is component ownership. So these are all the flows in my solution. I can assign these flows to be owned by a specific Dataverse user. And in that target environment, those flows will be owned by that user. I'd repeat these steps for all of my downstream environments. Once I'm comfortable with it, hit save and close. And now I'm back into our save solution. Click save solution. That's going to kick off a pipeline in Azure DevOps that will export the solution, unpack it, and commit it to a branch specifically for Johanna. And you can see now that's running. So I'll pause right here and we'll come back and once that's finished. All right, so our save has completed. I can see when this was run. And in the maker experience, I have no ability to kind of drill into the fine details of this, but if I come back to the advanced maker experience, you can see that these are clickable links. And again, this is configurable based on the maker experience. This allows an advanced maker to actually dive into the pipeline that just ran and see any specifics about that pipeline in Azure DevOps. And if we don't want that to confuse the user, we can disable that functionality. So in addition to being able to sort of see what I've done, which is this status indicator, I can come in here and drill into the details and see what's been done in general on this solution. And if we go over to Nat's view of this, so one of the things that sort of enables collaboration in development is as Nat, I can actually see everything that's happened with the solution. And in particular, I can see that Johanna has saved the solution recently. And if Nat had the ability to import solutions, Nat would be able to actually pull that latest commit into her development environment, her maker environment, and get started with the latest work that Johanna has done. Finally, once we're ready to deploy, after we've committed our solution to source control, we come into the deploy dialog. And similar to the commit dialog, I've got some flexibility as an advanced maker to choose a source branch. This is the branch that was just created when I exported, and a target branch. This was our target branch we specified in the profile, as well as enter a title and some notes. Jumping to the maker experience, a more simplified sort of deployment experience where it's title and notes, same thing. But in this case, I'm just selecting a target deployment environment to deploy this to. So I want to deploy this into test. I'll say ready for testing and click deploy. And that's going to start a pipeline. That's actually going to create a pull request. We have two different types of approvals built into the pipelines that we can do either a pull request to create a deployment, or we can do an environment approval where that actually kicks off a deployment pipeline directly and waits for an administrator or somebody to approve that deployment pipeline to run. And if we look at what that looked like in Azure DevOps, you can see we've got a pull request here that's ready for somebody to approve and review. If we look at the commits on that, we can see that our comment about this is good, and all of the files associated with this and the changes. Once that's approved, that would kick off the deployment pipeline, and it would deploy it into that downstream environment. It would wire up all of those connection references and set environment variables and handle all of the sort of deployment tasks that are necessary to get the solution into a working state in a downstream environment.